that I'm not a polling expert. I don't know much about how polls work, but I'm able to look at their figures and sometimes wonder about what it is that the commentators are making on one side when the polls seem to indicate something different. Now, my guess is that there's been another poll out today, which is Monday, I'm making this, which contradicts a poll that came out yesterday. And I'm predicting that both could be right. But I wanted to play a bit of a video from my friends at Sky News, because it's interesting how now the right wing, specifically, is endeavouring to attack whenever they can, not only the government at this particular point in relation to polling and a decline supposedly in their polls, versus the public service. So that's their latest tack. So at the moment, they're just not only attacking the government, now Albanese for all his trips overseas, they're attacking also the bureaucrats. So I just want to play a couple of clips around this so that you can get an idea as to what's going on, and I'll also make some commentary as we do that. So we'll just come to this particular one here, which is on the Sunday program, the Sunday Showdown. No idea what this is like. Certainly not like Insiders, which is the ABC program, and I don't subscribe to Sky News. I just watch this stuff on YouTube when they make it available. And so don't know anything about this program. It's nowhere near the calibre, I believe, of Insiders, the ABC version. They are trying to do their own version, which gives their own skewed version of the world, and certainly is leaning extremely to the right. So here's what these dudes have to say.
Albanese's got more problems than just China. While he's there, new polling from Labor-aligned Redbridge Group shows Labor have suffered a drop in support with blue-collar voters. Now, on two-party preferred, Labor are still ahead of the coalition, but what's interesting is the coalition now lead Labor with blue-collar workers. And since the referendum, there's been a massive slump in Labor's primary vote among 35 to 49-year-olds. So, Joe, you're the Labor man on the panel. We'll go to you.
I like the way they introduced this bloke, whom I don't know, but he might be well known to them and to others, as the Labor bloke, because there's nothing in the world he has to say. There's nothing he says that is positive in terms of the Labor Party.
How worried should Labor be by these new polling numbers?
Extremely, and I can only hope that they're alive enough to the problem to know that they have to do something about it and not sort of sleepwalking into disaster as some were with the Voice campaign, saying, oh no, it's fine, we can still win it, there's all these undecideds out there. You will notice if you go back and look at anything that I've been shouting from the rooftops over the past few years, Joel Fitzgibbon, strangely enough and prophetically enough, had an article in The Australian just yesterday saying we seem to have an institutionalised, progressive and woke public service that in a sort of Humphrey Appleby way is running the government. Redbridge Group, by the way, is Labor.
Which I'll be talking about in just a moment.
We're a Liberal guy, so it's really even, and as Cos Samaras, former Victorian Assistant Secretary, is very smart, very sharp, often gives advice that people don't want to hear, and that's one of the reasons I really respect him, and I've used some of his polling before as well.
Now, I just want to point out that they go through these polls and they talk about sections or cohorts in the community where the polling is favouring the coalition, which is fair enough. No objections to that whatsoever. However, what we do need to remember is the numbers of people that sit within those cohorts and how they will impact or affect the election. But the purpose of this particular discussion from these people is to let us know that Labor's doing poorly. However, I just want to bring to your attention one that I came across the other day, which is the latest news poll. I don't know how this is going to come up, but I'll give it a shot. So this would be the latest news poll that's come out via The Australian, I hasten to add. And this was done and released yesterday, which was Sunday. And it shows that there has been... So in 2016, there's a swing towards Labor of 3.13. Coalition in 2019 was 1.17. And Labor in 2022 was 3.66. The interesting thing to note is that in 2022, the results are basically the same as if there is a coalition today, as if there's an election today. So what this tells us is that regardless of what we hear on Sky News and elsewhere, and them nitpicking these certain cohorts and swing in those particular areas, the important thing to understand is that if there was an election today, there would be a swing towards the coalition of 0.13%, which would not change the number of seats that we would have in government. So basically, what they're saying here is that there is a slight swing against. There's not the swing that was anticipated by the right in relation to the Yes campaign. There has been a swing definitely towards the coalition. It's so minuscule that it's not worth worrying about. However, they are excited to the point whereby they're almost wetting themselves, thinking that this is going to be the new possibility. This is going to be an opportunity for us to start to celebrate the return of the coalition government, and that Peter Dutton, heaven forbid, will become our next Prime Minister. I think this is pissing in the wind, quite frankly, and I don't think there's much chance that that actually will happen. And look, frankly, there's a long way to go between now and an election in 18 months' time. So let's be patient, let's wait and see, but let's take it with a grain of salt. And then there is this clown on Outsiders talking about the public service. So if you can't make any traction in regards to the Labor Party itself, or any particular party, then let's try and focus on the bureaucracy. So, and look, I'm the first to admit that there are many bureaucrats who get paid far too much money, I think, probably for the work that they do. So I don't have an issue with that, about being paid for what they do. But this notion that they are woke or that they are left-leaning is unfounded, given that prior to this last election, for 9 years, and for election after election, the coalition have got in. So who knows what it is? So they're obviously not impacting elections, but they may be impacting the way the government may choose to allot their money to do certain things such as infrastructure and whatever, climate change and all these other areas that are distressing to the right wing. They're finding the space to do that, and maybe it's the bureaucrats that are influencing them. But here's the clown of the year talking about just that.
The Canberra bureaucracy is totally out of control and is in urgent need of some serious pruning. The public service is an absolute disgrace and the first order for an incoming coalition government, which we will be getting after the next election.
I love that bit. So this is where they're not hiding from the fact. So when they say that this is real news, honest views, it's not real news, but it is honest views. I mean, I've got to give them credit there. So at least we know what they're thinking. We know which direction. Now, if a mainstream media network did exactly what he did, all hell would break loose. People would be crying out bias and all this other sort of stuff. The interesting thing about Sky News is that they believe they can say and do whatever it is that they like and they can get away with it because they're Sky News, they're the Murdoch Press. What can I say?
Is to clean out the swamp and to punt every single public servant on a salary of over.
So I also love the terminology, clean out the swamp. So this is Trumpism stuff. And this is basically where we're heading in this country. So we're having clowns like this on Sky News advocating that we should clean out the bureaucracy and virtually start again. It's unrealistic, it's stupid, it's Trumpism at its worst, but they are propagators of that sort of message.
400K. Every single one of them Starting with this bloke, who is Secretary of the Department of Infrastructure, Transport, Regional Development, Communications and the Arts, heaven help us, who had the temerity to complain that we, the public, through our senators, actually want to know what they are doing with our money. My thanks to Liberal Senator Gerard Rennick, does a brilliant job for exposing this
Of course he does, because he's a Liberal senator.
latest example of how completely out of touch and arrogant our public service has become. Have a listen.
I love this. This is where so this is Sky News at their best, because here he is waiting for this message to come, very important message that validates all the stuff he's been talking about, and just watch what happens.
Not playing, not playing, not playing, not playing. No. It's much better when you hear it coming from him.
Now he feels like a dick, and so he should. And I think if there was basically, if we believed in karma, this is the best expression of it, because he's waiting for this message. I must show you. Look at this face on this guy. Isn't that incredible? He's just an absolute moron. But unfortunately, a lot of people do watch and listen to Sky News. That's where they get most of their news from, apart from social media, I believe. But I guess my point is that we need to be wary that there will be poll after poll after poll, that the right wing will take excerpts from that poll and look at certain sections that favour them. And as I just showed you, there is a 0.13% swing towards the coalition, not enough to change any seats, so they're not gathering any ground whatsoever. But people like Rowan Dean and others will want to celebrate any small change that they can, and they're doing just that. So if you like anything that I say, or you don't like anything that I say, please subscribe to my channel. That would be really great. Leave a comment down below. Love to hear from you, and I will duly respond. Thanks everybody for being with me. Take care, look after yourselves, and be safe.